We're gonna make cheesecake today. Hey guys, welcome back to my kitchen. All right, so I just wanted to address the elephant in the room. Yes, I have brown hair now. It's not blonde anymore, but it's still me. We are in a different corner of my kitchen today. This is my mixer corner, my lovely KitchenAid. My husband actually got this for me for a gift last year, and I haven't gotten a chance to use it on a YouTube video yet, so I'm so excited about this. Today we're gonna be making some New York style cheesecake. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's just plain old cheesecake. I'm gonna try to show you guys all the tips and tricks that I use to try to prevent the cheesecake from cracking in the middle. It's not completely foolproof. Sometimes my cheesecake does still crack, but I'm gonna show you how to at least do your best to prevent that from happening. Started, let's just go ahead and prepare the pan. So I'm going to show you how to do that first. Okay, so here we have our springform pan. It has this clamp on the side. Right now it's tightened, but if I were to loosen this, then the bottom actually falls out. So after you bake your cheesecake, then you can actually take this part off, and then it's just your cheesecake sitting on this plate right here. So you really can't make cheesecake without a springform pan. If you bake it in any other type of pan, it's really not cheesecake anymore. If you plan to just serve your cheesecake right on this plate, after you take this off and you just plan to use this, and you can cut it and use your pie server to just scoop it right off this plate, then feel free to just put the crust directly on this plate. But I'm going to show you an extra step if you want to actually remove your cheesecake from this plate and put it on a prettier plate. I make cheesecakes for other people a lot of times, so I'll put it on a cardboard platter, and I want my pan back, so I'll show you an extra step what to do for that. So basically we're going to take our pan, and then you'll want some parchment paper, not wax paper. Wax paper cannot go in the oven, but parchment paper. And we're just gonna measure, take a pencil and just trace around. Then we're just gonna cut this out. All right, so this ripped a little bit, but that's okay, it'll still work. Okay, so we have our pan here, and I'm just gonna spray a little bit. This is not to help the food not to stick, because we're gonna put the paper on. It's just more to help the paper stick. So I place it down. Now, as you can see, this paper is curling, so I'm not gonna put it like this because the edges will continually try to curl. So flip it over and then put it down. And then we're just gonna spray the inside and the sides. Okay, so this is the part that I did not know before, but in order to prevent the cracking, we're gonna actually bake this in a water bath. So your springform pan is 2 parts, right? So it's not gonna be waterproof. This little crack here is gonna seep water a little bit. So we kinda need to seal that up. So you're gonna take some foil. Now I would definitely recommend getting the long foil so that it covers everything. Not, I think normal foil is like this long, but you'll need the extra long heavy duty foil. And we're just gonna wrap this pan up here. And then we're gonna kind of fold up the edges here. Now you're gonna have some of the square edges, just kind of fold them in as best you can. Kind of like wrapping a present, but it doesn't have to look pretty. This is just to kind of waterproof your pan. So you don't want it hanging down in the pan like this because your cheesecake is going to be there. So make sure that there's no parts that are hanging inside of the pan. Make sure that nothing is hanging down lower than this top lip here. I'm gonna wrap it again a second time just for good measure. Make sure everything's all nice and tight. So now our pan is waterproof. And at this time, you can go ahead and set your oven to preheat for 350 degrees. All right, so now we're finally ready to make our crust. So you want to take a stick of butter and stick that in a bowl and get that melted in the microwave. And then you'll need a Ziploc bag and some graham crackers. Now, I like to use a package plus one more graham cracker, so a total of 10. So you want to count those out. Usually the packages come in 9. So you'll just make sure you have 10 there and then stick them in the bag. I like to kind of pre-break them up a little bit just to make my life a little bit easier. Once you have all the air out of the bag, you can bang them around with your hands for a little bit and then just take a rolling pin and we're going to crush this all up, roll it all up until it's a very fine crumb, almost the texture of sand. So you want to make sure all the clumps are out of there. If you have a food processor, that would work perfectly fine as well, but this is how fine of a crumb you want it to be. So then we're just going to take our melted butter and pour this all in, and then we are also going to add 1/3 cup of sugar and just take a fork and whisk that all up. When you're done, it should be the texture of wet sand. So then you're just going to put it all in your pan and we're just going to press it all down and around. You can use your hands. I like to also get a cup and kind of like push the sides of the crust up the sides of the pan and just make sure everything's really pressed down really good. And then you can just take that crust and pop it in your preheated oven for 10 minutes. Okay, so today I am actually going to be mixing this in my stand-up mixer. I want to just preface this with this. You do not need a stand-up mixer to bake. I actually, for like 4 or 5 years, didn't even have an electric mixer, and I still made all kinds of things, cookies, pies. I even beat my own whipped cream and meringue with just by hand with a wire whisk all the time. So you do not need a mixer to be an amazing baker. It makes life much simpler. I will say I was in denial for the longest time and said, oh, I can just mix everything up by hand. But my wrists and my thumbs and everything started to suffer from it. So I'm so thankful to have one, but if you don't have one, it's okay. You can still mix this by hand. You just wanna make sure everything's well incorporated. Okay, so you're gonna need 3 packages of cream cheese, 3 8-ounce packages. This is like a mega huge brick of cream cheese, so I'm gonna use 3 like bricks of it, but 3 bricks of cream cheese. Pro tip, cream cheese is really expensive if you buy it full price. I always wait till it goes on sale and it's like 99 cents a block, and I buy a whole bunch of it and stick it in my freezer. So this is one that was in the freezer and I thawed out. So as you can see, it's like all kind of liquidy and stuff, but that's okay for baked cream cheeses. It's totally fine. So you just want to put this softened cream cheese in your bowl, and we're also going to add a 1/2 cup of sour cream and also 1 1/3 cup of white sugar. And you just whisk all this together. You want to make sure all the lumps are out, that there's no lumps of sour cream, no lumps of cream cheese. That is perfectly smooth. Okay, so as you can see, this is all smooth and there's no chunks in it. So this is what we're wanting for the cream cheese. Add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. All right, so we're just gonna add 1 egg at a time. Just add an egg, mix it for like 3 seconds, and then add the next one. So here is first egg. And the next one. Basically, you just want to mix it until the yolk gets broken up and then just kind of a little bit mixed in. You don't want to over mix the eggs at all because it will ruin your cheesecake. So here's the 3rd egg. right, so you can see I barely mixed it up at all, just real quick. You really don't want to mix your eggs that much. If when you go to put it in your pan, you notice a little bit of yellow still, you can just real quick and take a spoon and just kind of break it up a little bit. But now we're gonna dump this into our cheesecake pan. Okay, so here's the extra like fancy part of cheesecake. I always say cheesecake is a little bit high maintenance because it takes some extra things to make it happen. So it's high maintenance because we're gonna give our cheesecake a bath, a hot tub bath. So you will need a big pan. I have this one. This is just a cake pan. I've used a roaster pan before, but basically a pan that is big enough to fit your cheesecake pan inside of. You're gonna set your cheesecake pan inside of this. What we're gonna do, our oven is preheated to 300 degrees. I'm gonna set this pan in the oven, set the cheesecake pan inside of it, and then we're going to fill this pan with hot water. So what is that gonna do? So basically, it's gonna keep your cheesecake moist so it doesn't dry out. It's also gonna help it cook evenly because otherwise the edges would get done and not the middle, and then you have like this soggy, raw cheesecake middle, which is no fun. So we want everything to cook evenly, and we wanna prevent cracking. Okay, so this cheesecake is gonna bake. We're gonna set the timer for 55 minutes. It may take longer than that. It's kind of one of those things where you have to just keep coming back and checking and kind of testing the center. So we're gonna show that. Hopefully it doesn't get too dark here. The lighting's kind of going down. The rest of my footage may be a little bit dark, but we'll get it done and we'll show you how to do this. All right, here we are at 55 minutes, and I'm just gonna test it with my fingers so you guys can see. As you can see, it is still very liquidy in the middle, so this is not quite done. So I put it in for 10 additional minutes, and to test the center, it's still a little soft, but not liquidy. This is actually the way you want it, because we're gonna prop the door open and turn the oven off, and this cheesecake is gonna just slowly cool down in the oven. So you just want to take all of this foil off before you stick it in the fridge. And here is the test to see how well you did on the foil. Now sometimes I do all the things, put foil on, but I don't put it high enough, or I put too much water in. As the water boils in the oven, water will come up the sides of my water pan and come inside here. That happens. If it happens, it's okay. We're trying to prevent it if we can. So here's the test. If there's water inside this foil or not. If there's no water, that means you did an awesome job. Again, I'm trying to do this one-handed, and there's no water. Yay! Sometimes there's like water pooling, but it's okay. All right. So the reason why we're taking this foil off before we refrigerate it, the reason why that is important is if there is water, then you would want to kind of tip the cheesecake up and kind of drain some of that off. But there is absolutely no water here. It's completely dry, so we did a great job. So we're going to refrigerate this overnight, and then tomorrow morning I'm going to come back and show you how to take it out of this pan. You don't want to take it out of the pan right now. It's very like delicate and not set up yet. The refrigerator is going to help it like be more solid. So we're going to leave it exactly like this, except cover it with saran wrap, but make sure everything's completely cooled. I left this in my oven for about 2 hours or so after it was done baking. So you want to make sure it completely cools down and then put it in your fridge. So we'll see you guys back tomorrow morning. All right, so here's my cheesecake, and it is a different day. This has been sitting in my fridge, kind of solidifying. You wanna have it sit in your fridge for anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. It's been like a day and a half for this. But here it is. And as you can see, absolutely no cracks, which is awesome. Usually the cracks come when the cheesecake is cooling down. So you could see where I stuck my finger in it for you guys. But other than that, flawless, right? Very cool. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to take this cheesecake out of the pan and put it on either, you could put it on a fancy platter and not have the bottom of the cheesecake pan there. If you are selling your cheesecake or giving it as a gift to somebody, then you could put it on one of these cardboard cake plates and into like a cake box. I'm just gonna kind of show you how easy it is. So you're just gonna take your knife, and as you can see, the cheesecake has already pulled away from the sides, but I'm just going to take my knife anyway, kind of go around the sides, make sure I can feel down below. There's some of the cheesecake that is attached. So I'm kind of breaking that free. It's kind of the crust. It's attached there. Oops. Ah. Okay. I just mushed the side, but that's okay. You guys still love me, right? All right. So, and then remember our clamp here on the side. We're just gonna unclamp this here. And this, watch around the edges, will actually loosen this edge. So you're gonna take this off. And you can see here that I've got the cheesecake plate underneath here. And remember, we put that paper in between the plate and the graham cracker crust. So we're gonna take this entire cheesecake off of the plate and remove the paper and then put it onto our platter. Or like I said, if you're doing a gift for somebody, you could put it on a cardboard cake platter as well. So you wanna kind of slip the knife underneath the paper. So find a little edge there and just to kind of get a hold of it. Okay, then you're gonna lift the entire cheesecake up. Be very, very careful. Okay, this is why it's important that it was in the fridge, because it's kind of like all hard now. Okay, I'm gonna take that away. As you can see, we have our paper underneath here. So I'm going to, as I remove the paper, then I'm gonna just put it right on the plate. This. And just kind of slide the paper off. All around and just slide it out. But there you go. There is the cheesecake. Well, that is all. That's how to make a New York style cheesecake. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. You guys learned something new, and we'll see you guys again next time. Bye.